to revisit the topic of the spoken word. What we think really does have an influence on what our deep mind believes and therefore what our deep mind creates for us. But it's very challenging, if not impossible, to monitor all of our thoughts. We have so many thoughts that we think. But we can monitor our words, and our words are the embodiment of our directed will. They give us not only power over situations, but they clue us into how our deep minds are working. When we notice ourselves saying certain things, we are clued into some of our internal deep belief systems. And one of the authors that influenced me as a young witch in my teens was Marian Weinstein. She taught the idea of taking our negative speech out of the law of cause and effect. And the reason why we do this is not because we're being superstitious about our words having some sort of mystical power. What we're doing that's much more potent than that is when we find that we've spoken something that we don't want, and then we take a moment and reverse that. We take it out of the law of cause and effect and we change it around. We are training our deep minds what we want, how we want to change course in our lives. This is the impact of our daily conversational speech. Everybody has their own belief systems. Everybody has their own superstitions. And if we don't question those beliefs and we don't question those superstitions, we are fated to live in them. A four-leaf clover or a lucky penny, they don't have any inherent power in themselves. Our beliefs about those things have power. If you find a lucky penny and that is a catalyst for you to think a good thought and have a good word about it, then that lucky penny has served a wonderful function for you. But it's not the penny that's done anything. It's inspired you to have a lucky thought. One way that we can question our thinking that's extremely powerful, and cuts through a lot of time is monitoring our speech, not becoming superstitious about our speech, but recognizing that our speech patterns reflect belief systems, and those belief systems work overtime in creating experiences for us. It's important when we look at things like omens and lucky charms and things like that, we don't want to throw those things away, but we want to recognize them as something that's powerful rather than as superstitions. It's so important to choose our words wisely and monitor how we say things. If a person invites you over for a quick catch-up and you notice it's turning into yet another venting session of theirs, you have the power to politely decline and say, no, I don't want to listen to the venting. Sometimes listening to venting is good for someone, and the way that you can support them is listening to them vent. But if they're always venting, if they never are finding a solution, if they're not interested in hearing about a solution, they're draining you. They're draining you. And you have every right to say, no, I don't need to be around their negative speech right now, and completely protect yourself from that. And the same thing goes for you. You don't have to listen to your own venting either. If you start to go on one of your diatribes and you start to talk about how bad somebody is or how bad something is, notice that. Notice that as soon as it starts happening and take that out of the law. Take that out of the law immediately. I take that out of the law of cause and effect. I'm creating a new reality for myself, and I'm using my words to do it. And now I'm going to speak into existence that which I do want. It's not that you can never vent. It's not that you can never complain. But if you're habitually venting, habitually complaining, those habitual words are indicators of what's working behind the scenes under the surface, creating experiences for you, creating relationships for you, creating all kinds of things for you in the physical world. It's like a little workshop, and that workshop is based not on something that you say once, or not on some spell that you did once, not based on the fact that you found the right crystal. It's based on what you have faith in. What you have faith in sometimes isn't what you think it is, but if you blurt out something habitually, If you start blurting out things and you notice, I keep saying that. Why do I keep saying that? It's a clue to you what your deep mind is working overtime in. And if you recognize that and you say, wait a minute, I don't want that. Let's take that out of the law of cause and effect verbally. I'm going to say, take that out of the law of cause and effect, and then state what you do want. Just like that. It's just that easy. What that does, like I said before, is it starts to train your deep mind. It's not necessarily only what the deep mind holds as far as pictures and things like that. That's part of it. But it's what the deep mind has faith in. The power of your words is backed up by your faith, and nobody is faithless. There's not one person on the planet that walks around without faith. You have faith in something. You either have faith that things are working out, or you have faith that we're doomed. You have faith in something. And based on your faith, you create. Faith, imagination, will, and secrecy. The 4 corners of the witch's pyramid. And the faith one is a biggie, because faith is what you're churning out in your experience, whether you like it or not. Until you can change what you're having faith in, you can expect the same thing no matter what you do. It doesn't matter what kind of magic system you find or what kind of incense you burn. You're going to have more of the same until you're able to shift that faith. And one of the most powerful ways to do that is by listening to your speech and consciously changing your speech again and again. It's not the same thing as just chattering out affirmations. A lot of people think that you can chatter out a bunch of affirmations and that's going to reprogram your deep mind. It's possible that that could happen to some people sometimes. I'm not saying that it's not a thing that's possible, but it's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about creating positive affirmations and then repeating them over and over again. Sometimes what that does is reinforces the faith that you're wanting to change. It's your deep mind saying, the more they chant that, the more I realize they don't believe that. Sometimes this affirmative thought idea gives us the opposite of what we want. What we want to do is we want to use the power of the spoken word a lot more esoterically. And that is listening to what we're saying and recognizing that that is an affirmation of what we're having faith in. And when we take that out of the law of cause and effect verbally, symbolically, telling our deep mind, I know this is what we have faith in, and we want to shift that. We want to refocus that. And what we want to refocus that faith on is this. It's not about reprogramming the data in your deep mind as much as it is shifting the idea of what you believe is either going to happen, is happening, what you deserve to happen, etc., where your faith lies. It's not about getting more faith. It's about shifting where you're focusing your faith already. If you wish ill on another person, your faith is that the only way you can get your needs met is by attacking someone. It's important to recognize that your deep mind doesn't understand other people. It doesn't understand the concept of other. Everybody in your world, your deep mind sees as extensions of you. So if you're wishing ill upon another person, your deep mind says we have faith in the ill will for ourselves. It's going to hone in on that and keep you having negative experiences for yourself based on what you're wishing for other people. It's not so much that you're not a nice person and that you're going to get karma coming back to you, and if only you were a better person, things would work out for you. That's a sophomoric way of looking at it. It's much more scientific. It's just that your deep mind doesn't have any understanding of other people. And so the way you speak about other people, the things you say about other people are impacting the faith that you have about yourself, because your deep mind hears you saying that about you, not about them. When you have casual speech that is against another person, it's trying to show you what you're doing to yourself. Now, that's not to say that you can't stand up for yourself. It's not even saying that you can't curse another person. But if you did curse another person, it's going to be from the point of view of we aren't going to accept this kind of behavior anymore because we love ourselves so much. And we're changing this. We're changing this for ourselves. And only good will come from this. If, say, you took a psalmic curse because somebody was harming you and it was really a bad situation, you took that psalmic curse and you said, nope, pressing charges against this behavior. This is not happening anymore because we deserve better. It's a very different perspective to your deep mind, because it looks like to your deep mind like you're saying, oh, I see, our behavior is going to become better because of this. It's a very different thing than bad-mouthing somebody. Bad-mouthing and wishing ill upon somebody and wishing for the destruction of another person. As you change those speech patterns and the way that you talk to yourself and others about yourself and other people, you're going to notice things changing rapidly in your life. This idea that it takes forever to reprogram the deep mind is incorrect. The deep mind is very receptive if it believes you. As you start to recalibrate your speech about yourself and about other people and about circumstances, you take out of the law the things that you don't want when you hear yourself do that, and you reorient your speech so that it conforms more to what you do want. Your deep mind hears you right away, and it wants to help you. It's your good friend. It wants to give you what it thinks you want. So if you're very clear with your speech, it's going to respond very quickly to you. But you can't have it both ways. You can't say, I want all my needs to be met in a wonderful way, and she's such a bitch. You can't really do it that way. You have to learn that there's other ways that you can use your speech to restrict negative behavior from other people in your mind without wishing them ill, without criticizing them in a way that is going to bring more of what you don't want into your life. The way you talk about yourself and the way you talk about other people bears great power in regards to the kinds of experiences that you are creating for yourself in the dark room of your mind, in that deep mind where everything is happening. Those seeds are being planted and they're constantly given new life, constantly growing. So if you want different experiences in your life, you have to change your speech patterns so that they conform with what you want. Not out of superstition because you think that this one particular sentence is going to have so much power to change something in your life. If you say, oh God, I can't stand her one time, it's not that big of a deal. It's really not. But if you say, wait a minute, take that out of the law. I don't appreciate her behavior and I bless her as a child of the universe. Just that one little moment of doing that is going to negate an entire pattern that was being represented by you blurting out that thing about her. It wasn't that one little sentence is making that big of a difference. It's that one little sentence is indicative of a faith-based pattern that's creating problems for you. By noticing that and saying, whoop, take that out of the law and recalibrating it, that has great power. Each negative statement you're making is just reinforcing and showing you the patterns that are already in existence in your deep mind, creating what you're having. But if you notice those things and you start taking them out of the law and changing them around consciously, that change is noticed by your deep mind and it says, oh, I get it. We're going here now. And things change rapidly simply by noticing your speech patterns, taking the things out of the law that you don't want and reorienting them to what you do want. Very different than just chattering affirmations. Positive thinking is not the same thing as understanding the power of your words. Words are nothing but symbols. And in A Course in Miracles, it says that they're symbols of symbols. So words are at least twice removed from the truth. So it's not so much the words, it's what they represent. It's the energy that they represent. And when you blurt out things and you notice yourself saying things in normal conversational speech or when you're speaking to yourself, talking to yourself, if you notice those things, don't feel bad. Say, oh, goody, I found a new thing that I get to reverse. I take that out of the law. Be happy when you notice yourself saying negative things. It's another way that you're uncovering an energy pattern that you can recalibrate for yourself. Much different than positive thinking. Much different and much more powerful than thinking that affirmations have a lot of power. It's recalibrating where your faith is directed in the depths of your consciousness. Learning how to listen to your speech and recalibrate your speech, take out of the law of cause and effect consciously that which you no longer want. When you do that, your deep mind takes notice and says, our friend here says, no, we don't want it this way, we want it this way. And that's what we're going to give them. That's what we're going to give them. This week, I invite you to be an observer as to how you're using your speech, what you're saying in your conversational speech. And as the negative stuff comes up, excuse yourself at some point, like go to the restroom or something like that, and say, I take that out of the law. When you say something out loud, your deep mind hears it in a different way. It just hears it in a different way. It's not that you can't have powerful experiences with your thoughts without verbalizing them. But when you verbalize something, for some reason or another, your deep mind takes notice a lot more quickly. So you can just go somewhere into your car or whatever and say, I take that out of the law. When you're saying something negative about yourself, about your life, about your circumstances, about the world, about other people, whatever it is, use that as a tool. Don't just let it go. Nab it and just say, take that out of the law, reverse it. And before you know it, you're going to see things happen in such a different way than you thought was ever possible for you, because you took control of your deep mind. And the way you take control of your deep mind is not by forcing it to do anything, it's by teaching it to do everything that you want it to do. And the way you can do that most effectively is not by trying to monitor all your thoughts, but by monitoring your speech. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I so appreciate you. Until next time, blessed be.